and welcome. I'm Liam, the music reviewer, and if you're a regular viewer or if you've ever viewed any content of mine, you'll know that at the start of a video I usually have some sort of elaborate like sketch or I have a throwaway joke, but considering the subject matter of today's video, I think you'll see why that's not going to be the case. And yeah, if you've seen the title of this video, which I assume you probably have, the topic of today's video is going to be about mental health. More importantly, 5 songs I think are important about mental health, whether that be how they discuss it, if it like gets you in the mindset of somebody that's been through it, who has talked about it before, if they shine the light on a different sort of point, like a different thread in the mental health discussion. And for other ones, I might just for one at least one of them, it's because I've found a great deal of comfort in them, but it can also tie into just how it talks about mental health in general. I would implore any of you watching to leave any songs in the comments down below if it's been one that's comforted you, if it's been one that you think can be thrown into the ring and like can kind of say this is why this one is important about mental health. And I want to stress that this is just 5 songs that I think are important about mental health, not the 5 most important songs, because it would be very tasteless to do something like that. In the bio, I'll be leaving like a masterpost link to any numbers in case you guys are needing that help, or if by the end of the video you do feel like, oh, maybe I should go and get that help. I'll also try and find a masterpost for any charities that you could donate to, but if not, I'll pick a few different ones for different continents and that. And finally, I'd love for you guys to enjoy this video. So if you guys are triggered by things like talking about depression, anxiety and suicide, especially when it gets kind of detailed in that, I would recommend you click off in this video. I'm not going to think any differently of you, not that I would know anyway, but I would take for a video about mental health to inadvertently ruin yours or just kind of like mess with it a bit, because I know it's like with certain content that I know triggers me, just it's good to put that warning out there just for the sake of everybody. So yeah, if that stuff gets to you, then just stay safe, stay hydrated. I'll catch you guys in the next one if you are regular subscribers. If not, just take care in general. But yeah, let's get into these 5 songs that I think are quite important about mental health.
Lately, I feel like I've been losing my mind.
It seems like the best course of action when it comes to talking about like mental health, and with a list like this where we're kind of deeming what songs we should be sharing with each other to like get ourselves into what it's like. We should have one that's maybe a bit more sort of like positive to a certain extent, and one that sort of still revels in the sadness but has like a moral that you can take away from it, where it doesn't feel like it's utterly like floating in despair. And for me, that song is Keep On Slipping from Injury Reserve's Floss. Back in 2016, they incorporated Vic Mensa into the mix, who helps out in the hook. And yeah, Floss was really an album, to me anyway, that was very anthemic, had a lot of like bangers and that, like Oh Shit and whatnot. But there was moments where things got confessional. They got a bit too real, but I never feel like they lost that impact. They all hit with the same velocity. They were just aiming for different bits, and this one was definitely one that kind of like made the mood feel very somber. Richie with a T doesn't do all that much on here, and I don't mean to like he doesn't do that much. He let me down. I mean, like he's really just on the hook along with Vic Mensa. It's really just Steppa who like takes the helm of this. And yeah, my first few initial listens, like it kind of flew by me a bit, just like how meaty this was in terms of just all these like really personal anecdotes. There's stuff like how he saw friends like OD, making reference to people like Amy Winehouse, like really just stressing how his mental health and how he's dealt with it or how he's not dealt with it has really like put a wedge between him and the people that he cares about. You can't really help but feel this sort of just despair is probably the key word to use for this song, because you hear all of this. There's definitely some like positive bits to it though. There's a bit during one of the verses where he basically says like the same anxiety and that helped him like write this verse and that, which is like quite like you get that a lot where like musicians will use whatever's eating away at them for like some sort of like artistic good in that. But there's a bit at the chorus that goes, because we need our fellas, so keep on fellas, which because to me strikes me as like a message of like confinement and like perseverance. It's not quite a you need to keep doing this, stop, like man up or that. It's more just kind of like we need our friends, we need our brothers, we need our sisters, we need our just everyone around us that's important to us. We need them, and we really need to keep on trying, and we really just to keep on going. It's not one that's like really like looking down at anybody. It's more just kind of like we're all in this, we can do this, which I think is quite a positive note. Talking obviously does help, but it's not like the only way to go about dealing with mental health. But that's something we'll get into later on in the video. But I think the kind of the general moral from this song is quite strong, and just how it like exists in the hip hop landscape, where a lot of like just throughout its history, it's been kind of like there's been a lot of people that are always trying like, oh, I'm the best, everyone else sucks, like, and it is all just part of the game and that, and it's quite entertaining. But like to have somebody that's quite, you know what, like I'm not all that good, like I'm thinking this, like I don't like myself as much as you guys might like me. I think it was quite refreshing at the time. There's another song that we'll talk about that explores a similar sort of thing, but I don't think the existence of that one prior like ruined this, because this just felt like a very like personal moment of transparency that, yeah, every time that I listen to Floss is one that still kind of catches me off guard every time. Now we're on to a song that, like I said at the start of the video, this one I found a great deal of comfort with during a very like stressful time in my life about 5 or so years ago. And once we get into the topic of this song, it'll probably make more sense. But it's also one that I believe does like touch on mental health, due to the fact that well, I'll give you more of a prelude to anybody that doesn't really know anything about Biffy Clyro, who are a Scottish rock band, and the frontman of that band, Simon Neil, during the first 3 albums of their career, Black and Sky, Vertigo of Bliss, and Infinity Land, tinkered more with absurdist lyrics, sometimes surreal as well. He did touch on like personal woes and whatnot, but like they were really kind of like a over the top kind of flair in that. But when it came to this 4th record, Puzzle, things sort of changed. Like it was a lot more serious. He didn't lose his sort of I guess kind of like his poetic spark, I would probably say. But sadly he lost his mother Eleanor due to a terminal illness, and the whole of Puzzle is pretty much one big grief-stricken album that some people try and say grief isn't a mental illness or that, and there's a whole lot of discussion that I'm not going to get into because it's not my field. But the rest of this album does touch on depression, especially the song Machines, where like up front Simon Neil goes, "I've forgotten how good it feels to be alive." It's really quite harrowing at times like that. So I feel like this song still can touch on grief, but as well as like touching on that kind of like mental health state that Simon was in at that point. As I say, Puzzle is obviously an album that touches on this really tragic event, and Phone Star is probably the most direct song. Up front, just having the chorus comprise of Eleanor's name, Simon Neil's mum's name, but there's a lot of like really hard to digest lines for me, like ones when I was like it was 2013, so what, I've been like 16. Even before then, I'd listened to this album before then, but like it was like moments where like there's a few lines that like are just so beautifully bleak that sometimes you find yourself astounded by them, and at other times you just feel yourself like utterly hollow by just like how like on point and just how like relatable they are to you. The key one for me is the line, "The bloods drop red like inverted balloons." Like I say, just bleakly beautiful, and like when you just take into consideration like this is like Simon was seen like his mum like hooked up to an IV for the last time. This is the last time he'll see her, and the fact that he was able to like sort of like say it in this sort of way where he's kind of like I don't know what the say is, or even if it is a saying, like kind of like finding like the beauty in the sadness sort of thing. It's very melancholy. It really all culminates in just one of my favourite hooks of all time, really, for me, which goes, "Eleanor, Eleanor, I would do anything for another minute with you, cause it's not getting easier. The bridge of you will be folding stars." Seeing Simon handle this like really horrible situation in a way where he's trying to like think of his mother being like one with the universe, like it is a really like comforting thought for a lot of people that have ever lost a loved one, especially like in such like a kind of like to like a terminal illness or something, like that. So I think that's kind of like my big takeaway from this kind of song, is that it never feels like it's romanticising anything. I think it's very easy for people to do that, especially over the past few years, where they kind of like see it as being some sort of like aesthetic when it's really not. With this song, it's pretty much trying to like word this sort of like really horrible moment and just this really horrible feeling in a way where, for a lot of people, maybe they never realise just how vivid and how detailed an emotion, or how sometimes just how hollow it is. Like, there's a line about how you can't hold a gaze for a second or two as well, which is really simple, and for some people might like feel like a bit throwaway, but like if you've been through that sort of feeling where like you can't even like socialise at all with people, whether it be grief or whether it be just because of how low you feel, it's just, you couldn't really word it any other way. That's just how it is. So yeah, I love this song. It's one of my favourites of all time. Just a beautifully melancholic song that, yeah, I won't be forgetting at any point in my life. As Kendrick lets out an almighty scream at the start of this song, and there's like a really like sinister jazzy ambience crafted right after, you have the makings of a song that could have so easily been like a really like horrorish sort of like diss track, or like just something where Kendrick's like really angry at somebody. He goes like kind of like full preacher mode, where like he's just hitting, like he has no remorse when he's doing it. He's just going right in. Like, you feel like you're the one getting talked to, or like somebody's like, you're just kind of like being like sort of like looked down upon by this like really big important figure. And the resentment, the anger, the disdain that Kendrick holds is like unfiltered, unbridled. It is a lot to handle. And then once like that first verse ends and the transition happens where the audio is just like jumping from channel to channel and all that, you start to realise that, yeah, all this negativity and pain and just general hatred for is directed towards Kendrick himself. It's quite common for people that suffer from a variety of mental health issues to really blame themselves for things that might not have even happened. It does happen a lot. And Kendrick is he is obviously like in a really deep state of depression at this point. It's a really volatile bout that he seems to be into, and with this second verse he is basically talking to himself. Like I say, he's overtelling himself in this whole song, but like it's pretty much his conscience talking to him, basically saying, you're a fucking failure, you let down yourself, you let down the people of Compton, you let down your family, and more importantly to him, at least with how the rest of this verse seems to focus on, he let down his friends, especially this one friend who died, who was shot, bled out during a operation to obviously fix it, and Kendrick couldn't be there. He only FaceTimed, and just the real sort of like apathy towards himself here is just, it's I couldn't even know how to word myself here. It really is something to know that like Kendrick has pented up all this aggression and just self-hatred. It really is something that for a lot of people, I think with Kendrick, he's always like touched on sort of these things, but never like been too much to blame himself in that. But I feel like here, this is where like it kind of like reached its sort of peak. There's a lot of lines where he's basically saying, you should have felt that black revolver blast, and that like basically saying, you should have killed yourself, you do not deserve to be alive, which is I guess not as direct as that, but much in the same way that I really love Falling Stars. Like, Kendrick just managed to word himself so well in a way where it isn't as direct, but like the impact is still there regardless. And the line of, and if this bottle could talk, I cry myself to sleep, bitch, everything's your fault, which is sort of like paraphrasing the preceding song, These Walls, which is yeah, but I thought one is quite smart, but also is still just as harrowing when you realise basically this is basically saying like how he's basically used like drink to really help himself and that, or maybe not help himself, but to forget all this stuff. So like basically saying, yeah, like I can't get to sleep without crying because I hate myself that much. And if you've obviously listened to Kendrick Lamar, like you'll know the song Swimming Pools from Good Kid, Mad City, which was basically a song about Kendrick commenting on like all these people around him in Compton basically living their lives in a bottle, like just getting themselves into that state. So it's pretty much kind of like becoming the person that you were so scared of becoming, which sounds terrifying in its own, and just this whole song just evokes a great sense of horror to me. Thankfully, over the course of To Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick also like finds himself, finds his way, and becoming a better person and whatnot. But like at this point in the narrative, it is super bleak, super bleak. There's a line, and if I told your secrets, the world will know money can't stop a suicidal weakness, which is he's pretty much convinced himself basically like, yeah, this is who I am. I'm not going to be able to get better and that. And also when he gets to the song I, he basically realises I do love myself, but at the point in time, On You basically aims for the jugular and executes with just utter precision. We're in desperate need of a more upbeat song, at least as upbeat as you can get when talking about something as heavy as mental health. And who better than to bring in Paramore into the mix here, who dropped After Laughter last year, which a lot of people loved, but including myself. And I feel that reason was because they have a new flair. It's a lot more animated, vibrant, cartoonish. Like all this like lovely marimba and bells, giving a lot more prominence than they did have, or even the existence that they might have not had when it came to their self-titled beforehand. But also their lyrics very much tap into the angstiness of their earlier stuff, but I feel it's a lot more mature, for me a lot more hard-hitting as well. And the songs on here that are like my favourites kind of like are when that mix is done to perfection. Fake Happy is another one that I really do like, which touches on like a similar sort of thing, but I feel like Rose Coloured Boy, it's basically just, they both sort of like talk about stigma. Fake Happy isn't so direct, it's more just like kind of about people just not being themselves, whereas this one it's more about like Hailey being forced, basically as somebody who's like suffers from depression, anxiety, like being forced, like be told you need to be positive, you can't be so negative, when really like it's kind of wired into you, like in our own basically words, just saying just how I wish I could be like you, like this rose-coloured boy who like just sees the world and just utter positivity. I wish I could be like that, but the world's a shitty place. My mind's a shitty place as well. It's just not that easy. But it's never been derogatory or condescending. Like she basically says, like, you keep doing you, basically I'll keep doing me. As she puts it, just let me cry a little bit longer, I ain't gonna smile if I don't want to, which, yeah, just to the point and just couldn't be more true if it wanted to. I think this song is pretty important, both in terms of it talks about stigma in this sort of way. It really is, like, you couldn't have like worded it any better. But also I think we, and maybe not you and I directly, but just like we as consumers used to, or still do, think that pop is this sort of thing that's more style over substance, when really that can be further from the truth. There's a lot of pop singers, a lot of like pop orientated acts who have really like touched on some really important subject matter and whatnot. I'd be here listening to them all day if I was to do that. But I love this song because it does sound really good. But I think just more the fact that like last year, when we really did need a song like this, it came in the fashion of something that was as catchy as it was vital. Apologies at this point in the video because there's a lot of work being done outside, so there might be a bit of background noise. But back on track, the final song we'll be talking about today isn't the final one because I think it's the most important of that. I just think the events that transpired after it are just pretty essential in talking to, so it's fresh in your minds. But Frightened Rabbit, for those who don't know, are a Scottish rock band who have been around since the early 90s. In 2008, they pretty much kind of like got more critical acclaim with the album The Midnight Organ Fight. Floating the Fourth is the penultimate track off that album, and yeah, it's for a song that really touched on something like so dark, is really, really beautiful. It's just encrusted with this like fuzzy feedback. The guitars are sort of like broody, but at the same time there's like a really clean acoustic one. Just how they all work with each other is really nice. But it's like any sort of work that involves Scott Hutchison, it really is the lyrics where the jewels are. Now, Floating in the Fourth details a train of thought that Scott Hutchison had admitted he went through. I think he said 90% of the time, but regardless of the actual like percentage, like a lot of times, or a number of times through his life, had been thinking this, and pretty much was about committing suicide at the Forth Road Bridge in Scotland, which connects Edinburgh and Fife. It's pretty much like how the Golden Gate Bridge is. It's like a kind of a hot spot, if that's the right word to use, for like for this kind of for this act, where like people just, I think here it's 20 times a year people jump off that bridge to their deaths. And yeah, like that is like, you can pretty much imagine how harrowing like this song's gonna be. But you're probably not even prepared by how vivid like Scott imagined this being. Like, he talks about how the birds will peck away at his corpse, go, you know what, he's not a person anymore, he's gone now. I'll say what he says here. And fully clothed, I'll float away, down to the Forth, into the sea. I'll steer myself through chopping waves, as manic gulls scream, it's okay. Take your life, give it a shake, gather up all your loose change. I guess I'll save suicide for another year. It's heavy, and it's even more so when you take into consideration the fact that this year, May 11th, Scott Hutchinson's body was found at the Forth Road Bridge, or well, at the river below it, and he had done what he'd basically said he was putting off for so long. And it was a really messy time for a lot of people, in terms of the fact that, like, there was an announcement that he disappeared, and then there was also the announcement that it was him. I can't imagine how his family must have felt, because as a listener and somebody who met Scott once, he was just a lovely guy, and his music was just so comforting for me, especially because of how he talked about mental health so often. I could have included a variety of different songs, but I could have made a whole video just about 5 different Frightened Rabbit songs to talk about it. But this was a song that I feel like was the one that, if I was to recommend to somebody, just how when you get to that point of like no return, like how just you start to imagine all this stuff, and it really is just, it's a horrible thing to even imagine, but like actually hearing somebody say all this, it isn't just like how some musicians might they'll say something like fictitious and be like, oh, it's all a character sort of thing. Like this wasn't. This was a real man. This was a real person that was very down to earth, and it's a shame that we lost him. And this song is on here, like, not only in memory of him, but also how it talks about suicide in a way that it really does, is just impactful that could possibly be talking about that sort of event. But also the fact that, like, I want to mention how, like, he has had a dent on just Scottish music in general. People are abiding by his whole thing of, like, make tiny changes to the earth kind of thing. Like, that whole philosophy is something that people are abiding by, and it's going to bring a lot of positivity. And it's just a shame that he didn't really know how, or maybe he did know, and just with how mental health does to you, like, it just wasn't getting through to him. And it's not like I would expect somebody not to be feeling that way just because a few people say that they love his work. But, like, he was obviously a very important figure to a lot of people, and it's a shame he's not around with us any longer. But at least we've got his music, and at least we're able to, like, pay respect to him in ways like we are just now by talking about him, just saying how important he was to us, not only in the music that he made, but just as a person in general. So yeah, we're gonna miss you a lot, Scott. But how am I wanting to finish this video? And as much as I'd love to, like, finish it on, like, a really, really positive note, I don't feel like I can do that because of how things are just now. Because with mental health, a lot of people say you should talk more, and you should talk more because talking does help. But we really need to be doing more. For, like, say for instance, when it comes to, like, the cuts that have been made towards mental health institutions, the National Health Service, benefits as well, and benefit does come into it, because just Google UK benefit cuts, suicides. There's a lot of stuff there. We really need to be doing far, far more to help those that are in need. We also, like, as well as making that sort of stuff more accessible, in that, because we just seem to be in, like, an utter crisis at this point in time, and it's just a very scary thought to have, or not even a scary thought, it's a scary reality that we're in just now. Be there for your friends and loved ones, reassure them and let them know, even if they're not even, like, showing a hint of that sadness, just every so often just go, hey, you mean a lot to me, I love you, kind of thing. Like, they won't know unless you tell them, and unless you show them that. And we really can't afford to be losing any more people. I don't think, like, the numbers of, like, suicides and, like, people that are suffering from it is ever going to, like, disappear, because it would be totally foolish of me to ever, like, even try and, like, assume that. But there's a lot that can be done to, like, just even, like, decrease those numbers, and at least then we'll be able to, when it comes to these people that are going to be suffering from it, no matter what, we'll have that stuff in place to really help those people out. I'm going to get some stats up just now, and according to Mind, to our mental health organisation charity, 1 in 4 people will experience a mental health problem every year. 1 in 5 people surveyed admit to having suicidal thoughts, and at some point in their life, attempted suicide at some point of their life, or had those thoughts, sorry. But 1 in 20 people said that they made some sort of attempt, which is yeah, it's. I think a lot of people think that it's not as big a thing as it is just now, and obviously I think we're talking about it more. I think that's why those numbers are going up. But I do think there's a lot of just external factors that are making people more depressed, and sometimes it's just how you're born. Like sometimes it's all up in there, and there's not much you can do about that. But there's more that can be done. So be there for people more often, like your friends and loved ones, not that. Call out these cuts because they are doing such a detrimental to their life. It's pretty much a death sentence for a lot of people when those kind of things aren't in place. And try and take care of yourself a bit more. Just try and love yourself a bit more, which can be the most possible thing out of all 3 things that I've mentioned so far. But you deserve it. No matter yeah, you really do deserve to make yourself feel happy at points, as long as it's not at the sacrifice of somebody else's happiness and all that. But yeah, just do little things to make yourself happier, to make everyone else happier. And if you try and seek help, but I know myself that it's a much easier said thing than done. It took me years to go and do it, but it did help me in the long run, so I implore you to do so if you can. But even if you're not, there's something that everyone can be doing, really, is what I'm saying. But I don't want to put too much accountability on people that are suffering enough as it is, when really there's people that we should be kind of holding to account more than anybody else. But yeah guys, thank you for watching this video. I've probably rambled on a bit too much, I've probably been a bit incoherent at points. But this is a video that I really needed to make because of just all the stuff that's been happening. We've lost so many people just in everyday lives, but also just when we're talking about music, this is what I talk about all the time. We had Mac Miller a few days ago, we've had Little Peep and Chester Bennington over the past year or so. It's something I've been wanting to talk about for quite a while, and there's videos on my channel that are talking about it, but I really haven't talked about it in such a direct way and in this sort of fashion. So I'm glad I have. But yeah, if there's any sort of song that you feel like I should be aware of, that you think are important to you on a personal level or just in a general sense, then leave them down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and as always guys, stay safe and stay hydrated.